everybody. Happy Sunday. Been kind of a weird day. I took Dad to the hospital today. He's in the hospital, but I'm here and I thought I might as well come home and teach the class. So that way I have a normal Sunday evening. So anyway, it's just been kind of a weird day. But I thought, well, we'll just get this. We'll just work on our quilting tonight, and it gives me something to keep my mind off of things. So, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate having some friends and have some fun around. So, it'll be really good. So, this is very fun. So, what we're going to do is we're going to quilt the we're going to quilt the table or the bench pillow. When I quilt these, we're going to quilt this with the clear blue tiles. And when these first came out, I was very resistant to them. And I've been struggling a little bit, but I got them. I bought them a while back and started using them. And, I really kind of like them. The thing that bothered me was, a second here, let me turn off the banner. The thing that bothered me about the clear blue tiles was that the fact that you had to put so many marks on your quilt. I'm not a big hand to like to put marks on because I've never really found pens that really came off really easily or well, or, or didn't leave residue or something. So that was my hesitancy. So I'm just going to talk about this quick before I show you what we're going to do. But I found that the best pens for me so far have been a heat away pen instead of the pens that come with the tiles. So I'm going to show you all that too. The pens that come with the tiles are the wash away type that are blue. And I really do not like those. They do not come out well. They get down into the batting and then they keep coming back and you can't get rid of them. So I experimented and I have Frixion pens and many of you use those. And if you like them, go ahead and use them. Not a huge fan because depending on the color, some of the fabric and the color of the pen, sometimes I have residue left. Like I'll have a light colored fabric. And if I put like a blue pen on or a black pen on, then it will leave a brown spot on my fabric when you iron it away. It won't go away. Sometimes if I have a dark fabric and put a lighter colored pen on it, then it leaves a white mark. So those Frixion pens are actually made for paper. And so they're not really made for fabric. So I did a little research around and tried to find some other pens that maybe were heat away that were actually made for fabric. So I found some, and we have these on our website. So just so you know, I found some that I do like. These are Nifty Notions Heat, what do they call them? Heat Vanishing pens. And there's about 5 colors in the package. My favorite one's the blue one. I usually use one of these a little bit darker ones. The red works fine too. Don't work too well with the white, but I haven't got, mine must be kind of dry or something. I haven't got it going very well. These are kind of like gel pens almost, but these are actually fabric heat away pens. So far these seem to come off really well. And I haven't had any trouble with them leaving a residue or anything on my fabrics. So I wanted to talk to you first about the pen I'm going to use tonight, because we do need to mark the quilt. Now, when I mark with my clear blue tiles, I mark as minimally as possible. They have you marking all over the place. And the more marks you put on the quilt, the more likely you're to have a problem with it getting off, coming off. So I actually am very minimal with my marking. So I'm just going to tell you that right ahead. I don't like to mark any more than I absolutely have to. So anyway, so that's kind of my little talk about the pens. So I do like these. I put them up on the website on shieldsewingcenter.com, these Nifty Notions pens. They do seem to work quite well. And they come off and they seem to stay off. They don't come back with like a brown spot on my light colored fabric or anything like that. So that seems to be the best that I found so far. If you have other heat away pens that you found that are not Frixion, please let me know. Because like I said, I have a couple Frixion pens. The blue one that's about the same color works okay, but every now and then on a light colored fabric, I still get that dark line that'll come back and it won't go away. Okay. So anyway, so these seem to work well for me. I don't like chalks. I think would be fine. I also have trouble with chalk coming off sometimes. So you can try. What I tell you to do is to experiment a little bit to see what works for you with marking your quilts. Chalks do work. I have also a little trouble getting chalks off. So whatever works for you, Shannon. Just experiment a little bit and see what works. I would tell you not to use the pens that come with the clear blue tiles. Those blue ones, just they will not come out. I mean, I don't know how people are actually working with those, because the only way to usually get them out is to completely wash whatever you've done. And then even then, sometimes it comes back. I mean, it's like it gets down in the batting and then it comes back up on your fabric. So I'd probably tell you not to use those. I just threw mine away because I never use those blue water soluble pens. The purple water soluble pens do go away. They're like air vanishing. But the problem is when you mark a whole thing, and we're going to mark this in a minute, if you mark it with the purple ones that are kind of like air vanishing, then if you mark a whole quilt, by the time you get down to the end of it, then all your marks are gone. So, I need something that's going to stay on until I take it off. And that's why I think they use the blue pens. But, that's a good idea. Who said that? The Tide pen? Oh, that was Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. So that's good to know. I don't know that. I have never tried those Tide pens. I'm allergic to Tide, so that's why I don't use Tide. So that's a good trick. So anyway, so I wanted to talk first about the pens. So that's what I'm going to be using tonight, is one of these Nifty Notions heat vanishing pens. Okay, so that's what I'm using. Let's put this back here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Let's just hold this up first so you know what I'm using. So there are two sets of clear blue tiles. There is the essentials set, which would have this book in it. Okay, this is your instruction booklet. Gives you some of the pictures of the designs and stuff. You get a USB stick with the designs in it. Okay. And this has all the sizes of designs, even the ones for the larger machine, the larger hoops. So this has all of the designs in it. There's no designs with the expansion pack, which is the tiles for the really longer hoops. Okay. You get a couple of these little slap band things. I don't usually use them. I usually just roll my quilt up. So you can use these that kind of hold your quilt back if you want to use them. And like I said, I'm kind of minimalistic about that. And then you get sets of tiles. And there's two kinds of tiles. There's some tiles that say finished block. Okay. And there's some tiles that say finished border. So like these are the border for the borders, and these are for the blocks. Okay. So there's two baggies in that. I just got rid of my box because it was so big. So I wanted to show you. So this is what you would use. Now, if you have a machine, so the other thing I've learned, if you have a machine with an 8x12 or less hoop in it, you will only need the essentials set, because the longer hoops, even though they say that there's one that fits an 8x12, it does not. It's too big for the 8x12 hoop. So if you have an 8x12 or smaller hoop on your machine as your largest hoops, then you only need the essentials set. So you're going to be working basically with 10-inch and whatever width length of tiles. So that's what's in the essentials set, up to like a 6x10 hoop. If you have a 6x10 hoop, you'll be able to use all of these tiles, because the 6x10 hoop is actually 6 1/4 by 10 1/4, and all of these will fit. Okay. The 8x12 hoop is the kicker, because the 8x12 designs do not fit in that hoop. And I learned that by accident, because all I had home one time was my 8x12 machine, and I went to quilt something, and the 8x12, you would think, oh, it fits in the 8x12. Well, it doesn't. That's the size of the tile. And the embroidery design is about 1/10 of an inch too long to fit in, and almost that much too wide to fit in the hoop, the 8x12 hoop. So if you have an 8x12 hoop, like a Quattro or something like that, that has an 8x12, you only need the essential set, because you will only be able to use these 10-inch length tiles. Okay. If you have a 9.5 by 14 or larger, then you can go ahead and get this expansion pack. And this expansion pack is nice because it gives you those longer tiles. It gives you up to 14-inch tiles. And then you also have different widths. So I have the expansion pack because I do have the larger tiles. Now tonight I am going to use one of the tiles out of the expansion pack. There are no designs that come with this. They're all in with the essentials pack. So you can't get by. You won't get any designs if you just buy the expansion pack. All the designs come on the USB with the essentials pack. You do get a couple more pens. I haven't gotten these thrown away yet. I threw away the other ones, but didn't get those out of there yet. Okay. And then also the extension, you can use all of the quilting designs that are up on their website as well. So they have lots and lots of their background quilting designs, and they all work with not all, but everything that's blue. They have them color coded. Everything that's blue in the pictures has both a block by block pattern and a clear blue tile pattern. Okay, because these are more made for custom quilting, and then also quilting, the all over pattern. Okay, so like edge to edge sort of. Now these appear edge to edge, but they're not actually edge to edge because you don't connect the designs together, but they appear edge to edge. Okay, so hopefully that explains the clear blue tiles a little bit, and what we're going to be doing with them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the camera over here, and I'm going to show you how to mark your quilt, and I'll show you how I do mine. I do mark mine, like I said, fairly minimally, because I don't want any more marks on there than absolutely necessary. You do have to put some marks on it. Okay, so let me get rid of these tiles here. Are there any questions so far? Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully I explained that all right. I'm going to pull my computer a little closer here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to switch the camera over here, and we're going to mark this this top, this bench pillow top. I am going to use embroidery thread to quilt it. I don't always. I often use Pima cotton thread to do my quilting. This one I just used the embroidery thread because I had some that matched my background really nicely. And I'm just going to use bobbin thread in the bobbin because this is going to be a pillow and nobody's going to see the back. So I don't care, if it's matching or anything. So you can kind of do anything you want with the thread. So that's what I'm going to use here. Okay, so let me switch this over, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do a little marking. All right, let's see here. Got to get the camera right and then the microphone. Okay, can you hear me okay? Get this out of here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what I did when I'm going to turn this way just a little bit. All right, so when I got ready to do this, I went ahead and sandwiched it with, here's my top that we made last week and sewed together, and then I have a piece of Hobbs 80/20 batting. My batting that I like. And then on the back of this, I just put like a muslin, or this is just kind of a cream colored cotton, cotton fabric. And I went ahead and I pin basted it. Okay. Now, the one thing in the instructions that they tell you to do that has never worked well for me. So like, this is going to be kind of an overall pattern that I'm going to put on this. Okay. So that means that when you get over here towards the edges, or off the top, you got to sew off of this edge. And if this is loose, I'm just going to tell you, your foot will catch on the edge of this fabric. I mean, there's just no way around it. It will catch. And then, you have all these problems. It pulls it out of the hoop. Everything gets all goobered up. So what I did, I've tried everything. I've tried tape. I've tried gluing.
I've tried everything and nothing works well. I didn't think. They tell you to use Kimberbell tape in the instructions. So on smaller items like this is not a real big item, and you can see I pin basted this well. The only thing that truly ever works for me, and I don't know if you can see it, I just go along and I zigzag this down along the edge. I can't do this on a bigger quilt until I get closer to the edges. So like this is not a very wide item. So I just went ahead from the beginning and stitched it down with a kind of a wide side or loose zigzag just to keep everything down. And I now when I quilt, I don't have to watch it. I don't have to worry about it going, getting caught somewhere over here. All I can just turn my head. Okay. So I really like the fact that I've figured out the zigzagging. I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. So like when I'm doing little things, I often just zigzag them right away before I start because I pin base really well and make sure everything's held down. But as you quilt, if it's a very large item, it's going to kind of push out. These are small enough that it's going to be fine. Okay. If you're doing a larger quilt, what I would say to do is do part of the quilting and get towards the edges and then zigzag the edges down. It's kind of like when I use my long arm. And do basting on the edges. So like when I am long arming, when I do an overall pattern, it goes off the edges, the sides, and the top. I just baste the top down so it doesn't. It's the same principle. I'm just basting it down so it doesn't cause a problem. So that's what I would recommend. The tape, I have tried tape, I've tried gluing, I've tried all kinds of stuff. Nothing works for me. And I am not a sprayer when it comes to basting. If you like spray basting, it might not come up then, but I can't guarantee it wouldn't. So I would still recommend the basting. I just did a zigzag. You could do a straight stitch if you want. I just did a zigzag. So that's something I've learned as I've been playing around with these things. Okay. The other thing I wanted to tell you, remember I told you when I did, I'm going to grab that. If you give me just a second, I want to grab something. I want to show you something about when I had the problem with the 8x12. Let me grab this real quick. I've been working on the cuties. So I did get a couple more cuties. I'll lay these down here. So here's one of the cute. I've been working on the cuties, and I'm also quilting these with Clear Blue Tiles. Okay, so this is May or April. This is April. Okay, so this is the April one. So I just finished this one. I haven't got the binding on it yet. Can you see the cute zigzag through all the layers? Yes, through the batting, the backing, and the top. Yes. So here's this one's done with Clear Blue Tiles, and they actually now this one was a not one of the Clear Blue Tile files. This one, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's an umbrella. It's one of their regular quilting designs. So I thought that was cool. Okay, but let me show you February. The first one I did was February. This one's March. This one's the one with the kites. And I also had an embroidery design that had kites. Okay, so I thought that was cool. So that one, I just finished that one today. And then this is my February one. So what I want you to look at, I'm going to show you a couple different ones. This is January. So I would like you to look at the stitching. So this is the other thing I learned. I'd like you to look at the stitching on the quilting. It's quite small. The stitches are probably 2.5, 2 to 2.5. Okay. Now, the night that I did this one, all I had home was my 5200. And my 5200 only has an 8x12 hoop. And I didn't think anything of it because it said it was an 8x12, right? So I pulled the design up and it wouldn't come up in the machine. It was too big. They just don't show up. Okay. So what I did is I took this design and I took it into my software and I made it just a smidgen. It only needed to be like 1/10 of an inch shorter. It's very minimal. And I used it. And I was disappointed in the quilting, because if you look at the stitches on this, I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. See how long those stitches are? Okay. Now I did not rip this out and do it over, because I wanted to show to you the thing that I learned. Do not try to resize these designs, because I asked Kimberbell about it, and the thing is, these designs have been scaled so that all of the designs, whether it be in a 2x2, 4x4, 6x6, 6x12, whatever, they're all the same size. So when I tried to size these to fit in that hoop, it messed up the stitch length. Okay, so don't try to size these things. All right. And I didn't want to rip this out, because when I do this again, I'm going to use the same design, and then you'll be able to really see the difference between how it turned out. And I had also used embroidery thread on this one instead of cotton thread, so you can really see the stitches are quite long on it. And then, because I was disappointed, I thought, oh gosh, are all those designs like that? But it's not. It's because I put it in the software and tried to resize it. So don't resize the designs, because they're scaled so that they're all the same size, no matter what size tile you're using. So that totally makes sense to me. Okay. So, and then this one was January, just so you know, this is January. So we're working on these. We're gonna start with the February one in January. So I've got 4 of them done. I'm trying to get at least 6 of them done before the end of the year. Okay. I love the cuties. They are really fun. We're gonna piece. We're gonna do some traditional piecing, and then we're gonna do some quilting. So we're gonna do those the same way we're doing this. So in this case, remember what I told you last night is we're kind of doing this backwards. So normally we would have we would have done the embroidery on this piece and on this long piece before we quilted it. But I want the quilting, I don't want to have to free motion this and go around all my embroidery, because I'm not good at that. So I'm going to put the quilting on now and then do the embroidery through the pillow, and it's going to come out on the back. Okay. Now on a pillow, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be inside. Who cares what the back looks like, right? However, I did care what my back looked like on my cuties. So you can do 2 things. So what I did, just to make it look pretty, I quilted it ahead of time, but see what I did? I put matching thread on the back for my front embroidery when I did the embroidery at the end. And isn't that cute? Just to put the matching thread on the back. It looks cute. It's pretty. It isn't, and you can just put bobbin thread. You know, if you just want it to be bobbin thread, that's fine. But I just put matching thread on the back. Okay. And that's normally what I do when I do like quilting in the hoop, as I just put matching thread when the back's on, then I have matching thread. So I think that looks just fine. It's not ugly or distracting. I think it looks fine on the back. So that's how we're going to do those. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark this. So this is my top. Got it sandwiched. I've got it pin basted, and then we're going to mark this. So what I do first is I kind of decide what size tile I want to use, and I want to be able to do this in as few hoopings as possible. Can you put vinyl on the umbrellas? Yes, you can. The other thing you could have done is, and I didn't, is you could have put vinyl fuse on the fabric. Like I did the little towel that I did on Shields Live. Remember, there's vinyl fuse, and you could actually just fuse that to your fabric and then put that on, and then you wouldn't have actual vinyl. It'd be that stuff that's actually adhered right to your fabric. Yes, that would have been fine. But I just used fabric. So yeah, that would be really cute. Okay. So I measured this so I knew how big it is. I know it's about 17 inches, you know, the narrow way, and then the length is about 38. Well, so I figured I probably wanted to use an 8-inch hoop, an 8-inch design. And then I thought, well, okay, so if I do an 8-inch one, 8 and 8's 16, but then I'm still going to have an inch left. So I'm still going to have to hoop it 3 times for the width, because it's not going to be, the quilting's not going to go off the edge or, you know, be close enough to the edge. And I thought, well, then how about we do, so I looked at my tiles, and there is a 6x14 tile. So this is the 6x14 finished block. And so if I do 6, then I hoop it 3 times because, you know, I mean, I might as well have 3 full hoopings instead of only 2.5, you know, or less than a half. So I thought, well, this would work because then 6, 6, and 6 is 18, right? So then we have 17. So then it'll be a little bit over on both ends. So that's pretty good. And then the 14-inch, you know, if I did 12 inches, that's only about 36, so that's not long enough. Then I'd have to hoop it a 4th row. And then this one's 14, so then I only have to hoop it 3 times down. So I kind of, you know, I kind of did that, and I thought, oh, that'll work. So the 6x14 is the one that I'm going to use for this. And the other thing I do is I want to not have to hoop it any more times than necessary. So, you know, I kind of figure out if I could only, and oh, I know where I was going with this. I like to quilt these the long way. So I'm going to start and I'm going to mark the top. And this is actually one end of the pillow. So this is the end with the smaller square. I don't know if you can see it. So this one works better for me to hoop it this way because then I don't have to hoop it. Like if I turned it the other way, none of the tiles are long enough, so I'd still have to hoop it again, and then I'd have to hoop it more times. So this way, I only have to hoop it 1, 2, 3. I have to hoop it 9 times. So I'm just kind of looking at the size and the way the tiles are, and I try to keep it as hooping it as little as possible. Now, if you have a smaller hoop, like a 6x10 or something, then you are going to have to hoop it more times, obviously. And you could hoop it this way, you know, do it the other way if you want. It doesn't matter because the designs are not directional. This type of design that works with the clear blue tiles are not really directional, so you can't tell what's up and down. Okay, so I'm going to go up and down this way because it just worked better for me. Okay, so here's my 6x14 tile, and what I did then is I marked the center up here of my short side, and then I also marked an arrow pointing up, so I know this is the top, or you can write top on there or whatever you want to do. Do you use 60 weight or 90 weight bobbin thread when using clear blue tiles? Leslie, it depends on what you're doing. If you are quilting with like cotton thread, I put in the matching thread in the bobbin. So I have a luminaire. If I'm in this case, I'm just going to use embroidery thread in the needle, and I'm going to use my regular 60 weight bobbin thread for embroidery because I don't care what the back looks like. It doesn't matter if it's matching. Like if you're making a quilting, let's say you're going to make a table topper with this or something, you probably would want to quilt with not, you know, matching thread on the back or something complementary on the back. Okay. It depends on your machine what weight your bobbin thread is. Mine is a luminaire. I use 60 weight. If you have an embroidery only, you're going to use 90 weight. So it does matter which machine you have. So let me know what machine you have and I'll tell you what size you should be using. Okay. So I'm ready to mark this now. Now, like I said, when I read the directions, they tell you you're supposed to mark these long lines on here and the middle polka dot and all this. And then you mark all of these little marks along the edge, here, 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 all the way around. Okay, a lot of marks. You have a dream machine. You will need 60 weight. You use 60 weight bobbin thread in the dream machine. So there's a lot of marks on these, and it's like I don't normally mark that many. Okay, so what I do is I like to mark the top. I just mark, you know, an arrow. You can put top if you want. And then I marked the center, so I know where my center is going to be. And then I want this tile to maybe be just a smidgen off the end. Okay, just so that most of the quilting goes right up to the edge. You're going to have binding. We're going to have a seam, in this case, a seam allowance instead of binding. So it'll be fine. So I just kind of started roughly at the top. Okay, and I got it in the middle. I tried to get it as straight as possible. You do need to do some marks. Obviously, we need one for the center mark. So I marked here, but you can see I only marked a small mark. So I just marked the center and I just marked short marks because that's all I need. I don't need them to be this long, okay? I don't need to do the arrows. You know, you can do that if you want to. I did mark these center pieces. You mark these little lines right here and right here. And then the corners, like down at the bottom. I don't know if you can quite see. There's corners right here, okay? So I just mark along the edge of the corner. I just take my pen and go around the corners. And then I like to mark this bottom one right here also so that I can get the next one lined up correctly, all right? So that's how you line up the tiles. After you get the first one placed, you just have to kind of get the first one on there the way you want it. And then you line up all the rest of them with that, okay? So I've marked this top. I marked my center. They want you to put the size in here. So now if you happen to be doing something that's kind of custom and you're using multiple sizes of tiles, which you can, because remember, all the designs are the same size, they'd say to put your size in here, okay? I'm using the same tile for the whole thing, so I did not do that. Okay, so then I got my first one on. I kind of start in the center. And then I'm going to move it over here and I want to get this next one on. So here's my little side mark that I made. And then here's my side mark on my tile. And I'm going to line that up with that. Okay. And I'm going to line up the corner down here with the corner that I drew in. That looks pretty good. And then I marked in my lines right here and my center point. Okay. Then I went over here and did the same thing to this side. So I found my little mark down here where I'd marked my corner and where I had made my little mark down here and the little mark right here. Okay, that's how you line them up. It's real easy. Okay, and then I marked this just in the center, made short lines. I just need them long enough to go. I'm going to show you two ways to hoop this, but I'm going to actually do it in the machine with a snowman, because I use a snowman all the time. So if you have a machine with a snowman, like Dream Machines, Destinies, the the Luminaires, Solarises, the Meridians, so many of the machines, and then the Quattros had snowman features. It is so much easier to do this with a snowman than trying to get it hooped with a grid. If you have to hoop it with a grid, I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so I marked this, and then I continued down to the next level. Okay, so then I pushed it up and I did the next one here. And I lined it up with my marks that I had made in the first row, and I got it all lined up, and then I marked this one, okay? And then I moved it over and did this, and then this way, okay? And then the last row on mine, see, I only have to do 3 rows because I only have to hoop it 9 times. And we won't get the whole thing quilted tonight, but you'll understand when we get done. Okay, so here's the second one, and then I'm going to move this on down. Oops, sorry. Keep dropping stuff. Line up my little lines, all my little marks like that. And then I'm going to mark this one, and I'm going to move over here and move over here. So this, if you have a 9.5-inch long hoop, which a lot of you do, I know that are listening, then you will only need to hoop it with this tile. You'd need to hoop it 9 times, 3 across and 3 down. Okay, and so it'll be done pretty quickly. It actually quilts up pretty quickly. All right, so does that make sense to everybody what I have done here? Here's my marks. I don't use all of the marks just to avoid as many markings as possible. Okay, so I have marked my top. I'm going to lay this over here and get my pen out of the way here. Now I'm just going to do a demonstration for those of you who have who do not have a machine with a centering system. Okay. If you have a smaller machine and you're using, say, this smaller, like 6x10 hoop, okay, this is how you would hoop it. You will need to use your standard hoops. It would be easier because then it's straight. You can use the You can use your magnetic hoops if you want, but I find I do better getting things straight if I use a standard hoop with the plastic grid. So here's the plastic grid that fits in your hoop. Then what I would do, of course, is I would line up the center, knowing that it was straight, okay, because I marked the center. I would do that. I would use, oh, I forgot to get that out. Just a second. Let me grab it in my drawer here. I was a little distracted. I didn't get home very early this afternoon. The hospital takes forever. You know, everything takes forever at the hospital. Okay, so what I do when I'm doing this hooping to help me, I use this double sticky tape on the back of my hoop. You know, I just take this double sticky tape and put it up here and here and here and here. And then it holds this inside loop part still when I go to hoop. Okay, so I like to do that. So let me just do that for you so you can see. And I'm probably not going to sew this. I just want to show you how to do this. So I'll put a couple pieces on here so you can see. And this is, I have this on the website too. This is the it's Clover double sticky tape. This is awesome stuff. If you don't have this, I use this for hooping all the time. And it's about a 1/2 inch wide, and it's up on the Shield Sewing Center website. And so then what I do is I take the paper off of it, and you can use this over and over. It doesn't last just one time. You can do it several times. Okay, so I'm gonna take the paper off, and it actually is pretty sticky. Maybe if I can get it off. I have a little trouble getting them off. Second here. The cat was very disturbed that my father's not here. When I came home, she just wasn't quite herself, and I couldn't figure out why, but she couldn't find Dad. Okay, so then here's my mark, right here, and I'm going to lay that in the center with my grid, like that, and I'm going to push that down with that sticky tape, okay, like that. Could you have used a shorter tile on your last row to avoid? Yes, you can. Yes, you can, but it doesn't go off that far, Carol. It only goes off maybe a couple of inches anyway, so I just use the same size tile. So yes, you can use a smaller tile if you want to. I normally don't. I just use the same one, and I just stop it when it gets down at the bottom. So whichever way you want to do it. And then I loosen this up so that there's some play in it. And of course I need to take out some pins. So I'd have to take these pins out. Okay. I'm just going to pop them out a little bit so I can kind of show you what I'm doing here. And would you use that tape on the 9.5 by 14 hoop? If you have Cindy, you have a camera, so you're going to use your snowman, because I showed you how to use the snowman in another video for your machine. So you're going to use snowman. It works extremely well. But yes, you would have to use your actual hoops that came with the machine, though, because you need those bugs, the little black marks on the hoop. Okay, so this would then go in here, and then I would slide this into my hoop. Okay, like that. When I go to line this up, I can't quite get it in here because I got a couple pins in yet. When I go to line this up, I would take this out, and I would then make sure that the design was completely in the center, so I drop my needle, and I may have to move it, but I know it's straight now in the hoop because I use the grid to hoop it. For those of you who do not have a camera. Now, I know a lot of you have a camera. All right. So for those of you with the machines, like Cindy has a machine that doesn't have the camera built in, you will need to use your app. And I did a class on Shields Live about how to quilt with the grid, with the app. And then I also showed what you would need for the snowman in a previous video that I did about a month or so ago. That you can use your app, and it works very well. It's quite accurate. Okay, so that's how I normally quilt these, is with my snowman. And a lot of you have those, even if you have an older machine, because the snowman's been in the machine for a really long time, like 10 years or more. So a lot of you are going to have that. Okay, so that's how I would do it if I had standard hoops, and that's all I had with a grid. Okay, So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over. I'm going to move my camera back over, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do mine with my snap hoop, because I usually quilt in snap hoops because I have a snowman. And I just use the snap hoop because it's easier to get it in there. So just a second, I got to move my camera over. So yes, I use that tape if I'm hooping with standard hoops. And Cindy, you would have to hoop yours in their standard hoop with the little black dots on it to use your snowman. And if you have a question about the snowman, go back to that video I did it's about a month ago that I used the Snap app. And I showed everybody how to use the snowman, and it works very well if you're not sure how to use it. And if you need me to show you again, I can show you, okay? I just don't have that machine at home that I can do that. So yeah, some people do use the shorter tiles. So there's shorter tiles that you could use at the end, but it isn't that long. So, because when you think about it, it's 14 and 14. It's not quite 14. That's 28. And this is 38. So that's like another 10 inches. So, you're only going to hang over a few inches. So I just left the same size in. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my snowman and my, I'm going to bring this in so my arm needs to move here. I'm going to use my snowman, and I'm going to use my 9.5 by 14 snap hoop. This is my magnetic hoop, and this works the best for me for quilting, because this way I leave this lower base, the part that goes into the machine, I leave this in the machine, and I just move the product around. I don't take it in and out of the hoop. I don't take the hoop in and out of the machine, I should say, because that's what you got to do when you quilt with a standard hoop. You got to take it in and out of the machine in order to get it in and out of the hoop, because it's very, you can't get it in the machine with, try to hoop it and get it in the machine. So I'm just going to lay this in here right now. Actually, let's do this first. I'm going to get my snowman. So here's my snowman. Okay. And I wanted these lines to be long enough so that I could lay my snowman on those center lines, and look at there. Okay, there's my snowman. That's going to center it for me. The machine will center it for me. And what I do when I hoop then is I lay that snowman, and the big part of his body is where the center of the needle, the center needle position will be. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay that approximately there. And I'm going to lay my hoop top in. And I'm going to have to take some pins out here, so give me a minute. That's the only bad thing about pin basing, but I just don't like spray. If you like spray, go ahead and use it. It's not real great for your sewing machines, but I know a lot of people use spray based, but I just am not a big fan of it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this in here. I got to take a couple more pins out. So yeah, that tape stuff on the back of the loop, if you're using standard hoops, really does help hold everything in place. And like when I do edge to edge quilting in the embroidery machine, the Amelie Scott stuff, I always use that tape. It works really, really well. Okay. Nope, still got some pins up here. Now, the trick with these magnetic hoops, you don't want pins under them because they don't hold as well if you don't put, if you've got pins underneath of them. So I always try to make sure there's no pins under, in between the hoop. And I did pretty good. So, and you can see I'm fairly close to center. I know I'm kind of close. And we got a little wiggle room in this hoop because it's not real wide, but we don't have a lot of wiggle room end to end because it is a fairly long design. So I am going to take a couple more of these out. And I just throw them up on the top of my machine or put them in. Okay. So now all of these these are going to be quilted. So I'm just going to start taking these middle ones out here, so it won't get caught anywhere. And once you get a little quilting on, then you don't really need the pins anyway. So, but I like to kind of start in the center, and I am going to do this. Usually what I do with these, I still kind of do these with in rows. I started doing that with the Amelie Scott. So I do go like the whole center row down, and then I go across, because I kind of start in the center and then I work my way out. So I've seen people do this lots of different ways. So I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to make a row down, and then I'm going to, so I might actually have to move this a second here. I'm going to bring up my design. And yeah, see, I think I'm going to have to move it over. So I'm just saying it looks kind of close. So I think we're in the center now. Okay. Going to have to move it over. Sorry, guys. I forgot I hadn't brought my embroidery arm over yet. Okay. Let's see if we can get this in here. It looked a little wonky to me. Until you get into the click embroidery, sometimes it doesn't always line up. Okay. Yeah, I like the Amelie Scott. I do those too. The thing that's nice about the Clear Blue Tiles, it's you don't have to have anything match up. Like you don't have to get a starting and a stopping point to start, to like line up. So this appears the same when you see it, but you don't have to do that. So I kind of like that actually. I kind of like this better because in a way, because it's just, I think it's easier. And the Amelie Scott designs I really like. And I do use those on my long arm, actually. I really like her designs. Got to take another pin out over here. Okay. So I'm going to choose my design. Now, I decided I was going to use a different one on this. The original one I did one called Autumn 1. It was one of the designs that I bought from Kimberbell. It was not in the Clear Blue Tiles. The Clear Blue Tiles have a fall one, but it's more of a Halloween one, and I didn't want Halloween. I wanted fall. So I just used one. It was called Autumn 1, and I think there's a new one called Autumn 2 now that is, it might have pumpkins or something on it. But I decided to use one out of the Clear Blue Tiles this time, and I really like the swirly one. So I have my Clear Blue Tiles here. And I'm going to go to the embroidery files. I'm going to go to PES. And then this one is called Swirls. So there's a bunch of them. They have fall. That's the one that's kind of Halloween. Loops, spring, summer, swirls. But swirls in winter. Winter has snowflakes. But then the swirls are just swirls. And that's the one that was on the February one. So I want to show you what it actually looks like when it actually sews out. Because it doesn't look like the one on my February cutie because I resized it. So I'm going to choose, they give you two options. You can do block by block, okay? Like if you're going to do, we're going to quilt it and then quilt it all and then sew this blocks together, or the Clear Blue Tiles, which it's already sandwiched, and we're going to do the whole top. So I'm going to click Clear Blue Tiles, and then I'm going to go find the one that matches my tile. So my tile was 6 by 14. So I got to go down here a little ways, and 6 by 14 is right here. So I'm going to click that one. And this is just going to be kind of an overall swirly pattern. I thought it looked sort of like, fall wind. I thought it was kind of pretty, and I wanted to use one in the Clear Blue Tiles. And this one can work for everything because it's kind of generic. All right, so we're going to use that one. And you can see, whoops, up here, probably can't see. It's about not quite 6 by not quite 14. Okay, so we're going to hit set, and I'm going to hit embroidery. So now I'm ready to quilt. Again, what I did is, since this is not going to be seen on the back, I did use I'm going to use just embroidery thread in the bobbin, or in the needle. Sorry, in the needle. And you could use quilting thread. You could use cotton quilting thread if you wanted to. I just happen to have this that matches well, so I'm just going to use my embroidery thread. Doesn't matter, whichever works. I just kind of use whatever works for me. And then I just got bobbin thread in my bobbin, just because you're not going to see the back. It's a pillow. So I didn't use like matching thread in the bobbin. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've got my snowman on here. So to use my snowman feature on my machine, I don't have to take a picture with the app like those of you with those machines, but it works really the same way. I'm going to go in here to layout at the end, and you would do the same thing on that. You just take the picture first with the app. Then I'm going to click my little snowman guy. I'm going to tell it okay. And what it's going to do, I have to scan. Using the snowman is so easy. There's nothing to it. You hit the button and you have it scan, and then it will line it up for you. So I'm just going to let it scan. And I'm using kind of a ivory colored thread. And I have taught the Amelie Scott many times. For those of you, I think, who was it that asked about that? I can't see all the names. Okay, so it's going to line it up. It's lining it up on the screen. See? So it's found him. What does it say? Remove the embroidery positioning mark. Okay. It found him. So here he is. Here's my snowman. And see, the needle's right there. I'm going to take the snowman off. Okay. And I'll kind of hold this up, make sure nothing's tucked under. I always check, make sure there's nothing tucked under. I got my bobbin thread in the bobbin. I've got my embroidery thread on the top. How do you buy more snowmen if you run out? Oh, we can get them. Shannon, we can get snowmen. You can use them over and over again. I'll use this same one for everything. You can use them over and over again. I can get them. If you need some, call me and I can ship you some. In fact, I think I've got some at the store right now. You can get them by the package. Because I run out because I use mine all the time. So, okay, so now we're ready to quilt. I'm going to go ahead and let's quilt. Now this is the swirls. And I have, again, basted, zigzagged around the top. And it's just going to do, and like I said, this was the 6x14, so it's going to be kind of a narrow little swatch here. But when I saw this one sew out, then I realized, or the second cutie I did, I realized that you cannot resize these. So do you have the magnetic hoop at the store? I do. I do have the 16, 10.5 by 16 I use for now. You can use that one, yes. I do have the 9.5 by 14 at the store. Colleen, the big one is so big. I don't use that big hoop very often. I actually like this 9.5 by 14. I use it a lot. Most of the stuff that I do will fit in here. What color am I using? It is an ivory. It's a brother ivory. Let me stop the machine for a second so I can look. It's brother ivory 1267. Just called ivory. I thought it was pretty. I usually quilt with cotton thread, but I just thought this one was nice and it was a good color, so I decided just to go with the embroidery thread this time. But you can see with it zigzag down up here, see, I'm not having to worry about it. Colleen, if you're going to order the hoop, check out the Dime website because I think they have them on sale right now. I think I saw something on Facebook that they were having through the month of October having a hoop sale. So check out the Dime website. Okay, so these swirls are really cool. So I'm going to show you the other one again after we get this done so you can see the difference in the stitching. Totally different, like night and day. I thought it was pretty. I just wanted something different on this one than the last one I did. Depending on the design that you choose, you know, this one doesn't take as long either. Like the one I chose before took a long time to stitch because there was a lot of detail in it. So, yeah, who said yes they do? Oh, Deb, yeah. Yeah, I noticed that they were having not that I don't want to sell you a hoop, Colleen, but they are having them on sale. And our event is over, so you could have gotten it on sale the same price on our event, but it's over, so. All right, well, this is looking good. But I'll show you the stitching because I learned a lot of things playing with these cuties with these, and I actually am kind of really getting to like these now. I'm getting along a lot better with them. And since I found these new pens, I'm not so worried about marking my tops. So, but I like the longer hoops. Okay, but the clear blue tiles, you know, I know they're a little expensive. They do come with a lot of designs. They come with also some really cool patterns for some table runners that are really neat. and some extra little bitty blocks and some stuff like that. And I do really like them. I mean, as I've been using them. Oh, your projector, yes, the projector's cool. You don't really need it for this procedure, but it is awesome, Shannon, and it's very easy to use. I use the projector in a lot of different things, so you can watch some videos that I've done, and I use the projector quite often. It's a little hard to see on the camera because it's like a camera looking at a camera, so it's a little hard. Oh, the pens are, Cindy, they are Nifty Notions, and they're up on our website. They are Nifty Notions. I'll put it up here in front of the camera. Nifty Notions Heat Vanishing Pens. And you get 5 different colors. There's 1, 2, 3. I've got one of them out, but this is the other 4 colors. You get 5 colors. Oh, cool. Yeah, the projector really, really makes a difference. It is amazing. Yeah, I like this one. This one will be good. It's just a little simpler than the last one I did. But they move along pretty good. This one has about 4,500 stitches in it. But I thought this one would be easier for the class because then it wouldn't take so long to do. We could do a couple of hoopings. You could be able to see a little bit more. So, but I'll do about 3 hoopings so you can see the bottom, and then you just continue on doing the same thing. It's really fun to do, and I think it goes quite quickly. Looks like I have some Gigi hairs also. Sorry, my cat was sitting on this morning. It's getting close. But these appear seamless. They are not, they're not connected. I should say they appear connected, but they're not. But they appear that way when you look at them. Oh yeah, this is a nice design. This one is just more general, so you could use it on anything. The other ones are a little bit more specific to a season, but I have all the other designs, so you can use any design that you buy from Kimberbell. Just, if there's something special you want, like my cuties, I had, the umbrella from my April one. This one actually has little umbrellas. Can you see the little umbrellas on it? And then the other one had kites. So, I just wanted something specific. Okay. So there's our first hooping. All right. So now with this hoop, I don't have to unhoop the whole thing. I'm just going to pop this up, lay it on the top of the machine. I'm going to push this up to the next position where I've got so I don't have to take everything out of the machine. Okay. Then I'm going to take my snowman again. Here's my snowman. I'll take some more of these pins out. Whoop! That one went flying. That one went flying. It's over by my PR somewhere. I'll have to go hunting for it later. So I'm just going to take some of these pins out. Whoop. Got pins stuck to my hoop. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to put my snowman on the next line. Whoops, got my hoop in the way, so there we go. I'm going to put my snowman on the next center position. Right there. Like that. Okay, got that one on there. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push this up to about the center where my needle is, roughly, so I know that I'm pretty close to being centered. And then, whoops, still got some more pins to take out. I kind of got a little carried away with the pins on this one for some reason. I don't know. Oops, this one's really in the way. Get this one out of here too. Yeah, try not to have pins in between your hoops because it doesn't hold as well if you do that. Okay, so this needs to come down. And then I try to get it, you know, as straight as I can in the hoop. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We do have a little wiggle room, but if it's really crooked, then it's going to swing and the, you know, the design will be out of your area. And if you're really off, like I'm pretty off, I need to come this way. Just give it a little tug. I'm kind of crooked too, so hopefully it won't be too bad. We'll see. Gonna need to come this way a little bit. So I just try to get it, you know, as close as I can. Okay. And then make sure that your edges of your hoop are well lined up, and you can feel it with your fingers. So just, you know, feel all the way around that you're all lined up. Okay. Okay. So then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over here. Now, I found that the camera sometimes gets a little wacky if you don't hit. I just center it before I start doing my next scan with my snowman. For some reason, every now and then it gets kind of annoyed if you don't. So I just do it. And then I'm going to hit my snowman again. Hit OK. And scan. Scan's down here. I don't know if you can see it. And OK. So now it's going to scan. Find the snowman. And it's finding them again. I think I kind of got this one kind of crooked. I might actually have to fix my snowman. I think I got my snowman on kind of crooked. Because it looks kind of straight in the machine, but it looks crooked. But we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so see, it says it extends out past. So my snowman is not very straight. I'm actually going to fix my snowman. I know every now and then I have this happen that I get a little crooked. So let's see. Let's pull this out so we can see a little better. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out and see if I can straighten this up a little bit. It just looked crooked to me. And I might have marked it just a little crooked. There we go. That looks better. I think that looks a little bit better. Because it is fairly straight in the hoop. Okay, so let's try it again. I'm going to hit the scan button again. And OK. You have a little wiggle room side to side, but if it's too far, if it's too crooked this way, you know, it's pretty close on the ends with the 14-inch hoop. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room there. Yeah, I think that'll be better. I think I marked this one corner here just a little off. Oh, it's still passed. Just a second here. Let's take a look. Maybe I'm just crooked in the hoop. Yeah, it is kind of crooked in the hoop. Let's see if we can get it straightened up a little bit. Yeah, you don't have a lot of wiggle room when they're that long. So you have to kind of try to get it as close to being straight as possible. So it's good that you see me struggle with things, because then you know what happens. I don't have too much trouble, but I think I got this one marked just a little off. I might get the tile out and see if I'm just really off. Looks better, but I am kind of down. So let's pull this up a little bit. I don't have a lot of extra room on the end. So if I'm that far off, it might have not been so crooked as too close to the bottom. Okay. Let's see if we're a little better now. I think I'm a little closer now. This is pretty close to the edge of the hoop because it's 13.83. So you don't have much room at the end. Make sure this is good and straight. That feels pretty good. All right, now let's try it again. We'll give her another whirl. I love these hoops because I can just move things around, and I don't have to take things out of the machine and go over to a table and try to rehoop. Because when I first started using the Amelie Scott designs, you had to take everything out of the machine every time and then try to get it in, and then you pop it out of the hoop on the way to the machine, and it's amazing. Okay, well, now it's mad because it can't recognize it. We'll try it again. My light is weird here, and so I've noticed that sometimes it doesn't see the snowman. You just wanted to see it scan lots of times, didn't you? I think maybe it's happier now. I think it found him. I think it found him. So hopefully he's straight enough now that he'll be okay. Oh, he's happy now. See? He's all happy, nice and centered. So you do have to, even when you have a snowman, sometimes you got to do it a couple times. All right. So let's see what happens here. So we're going to do this one and make sure everything's nice and straight. Feels good. All right. So we're going to do the same design for the next layer. I think it is easier than edge to edge. I like edge to edge, but you have to connect the end point and the start point. And so the Clear Blue Tiles run, is this Marianne? I think it was Marianne. The Clear Blue Tiles, the Essentials pack is like $150, and the expansion pack for the longer hoops is $50 because it just has tiles in it. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it also has a lot of designs in it. So there's tons of designs. I think this is easier. Once I got going with it, I love the other ones too, and I use them. But it takes one of the steps out. You don't have to, connect the beginning and ending point and have it come out right. And so I think these work really well. Even though I had to scan a few times. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in there with me. It happens. Sometimes it's like in this case, I think I wasn't quite centered enough, and it slipped down a little bit, and then it wasn't close enough to the center, so it was extended too far past the bottom. So oh, and I finished my other. I should show that to you. I finished my other. I thought last week I was using other fabric to make my ribbon, my braid. And I did finish it. It looks pretty. I thought I might, if I had time, I might make another one. So here's the one that I finished. So with all the colors in it, I thought it turned out pretty good. Yes. So somebody said something about the edge to edge on the new Luminaire. Yes. So I will be doing that soon. I'm waiting until we get a few more of the upgrades in. I don't have very many, and I don't want to tease everybody and not be able to get the dang upgrades. So we're still struggling getting them in. So I am going to show everybody that because it's going to work sort of like the border function that I did on Shields Live a couple weeks ago, or actually 2 weeks ago I did that, and it's going to work basically like that, and I'm sure it'll be neat too. But I'm not sure if I think they connect like the edge to edge, the Amelie Scott. I think they actually connect. So I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. I do have an upgrade in my machine now, but we have not gotten very many, and Tim wanted me to have it, so I was ready to learn how to run everything so that I could show people. But we've been struggling. We did get some hoops in this week, and then we got like 2 upgrades, and so there was people that got both of them, and now we're waiting for upgrades again. So for those of you who are waiting, we're getting closer, but we're just still, we still haven't got that many in. So Things have been extremely slow coming in from Brother. And I did get a few of the baby lock people taken care of, so some of the baby lock stuff came in. All right. And then we'll do another hooping. That'll be one whole panel, and then you just start at the top again and go down another row. I mean, it's real fun and easy to do. I mean, and like I said, the clear blue tiles, when I first saw them, I thought, oh, I don't really need those. You know, I do the edge to edge and everything, but, you know, I kind of like them. And the designs are really cute and pretty. And they have all kinds of different ones. You can go then to the website and get anything you want. I mean, they just got tons of different designs. So I have, you know, the ones that came with clear blue tiles, plus all these other ones, and all of them work. So. But yeah, I'm excited about the edge to edge in the luminaire. There's only a few designs. They're a little more generic designs, which is nice. So I'm anxious to try it. But it's going to be a little bit more like the Amelie Scott's, I think, from what I have seen. You know, from what I could take, that they're going to connect. So, all right, we're getting close. Then we'll do another hooping. So that snowman's pretty cool. I know a lot of you have snowmen. And if you don't, you just use your grid and move it down just the same way and just hoop it with the grid. Use that tape, it helps. Keep your center loop in place. Or if you're using the snowman on like your stellaires, Altaires, Meridians, then you would need to use your regular hoops and then use that sticky tape on the loop, inside loop. Then you can get your because you need the little bugs down there to line it up with the snowman, but you can still use your snowman. It's pretty cool. Just have to take a picture with your phone or your tablet instead. All right. It's getting around. This looks, I kind of like this design. And like I said, I'm using just bobbin thread in the bobbin since this is going to be on the back. How many designs come with it? I'll show you in a second. Who asked about that? Marianne. There's a lot, Marianne, because there's like a whole bunch of different designs. Plus, you get multiple sizes of each one. So can't remember exactly, but there was hundreds. I mean, there's like 7 or 8 different designs, and then you get all the sizes for each one. So there's a lot. Okay. And they're seasonal. There's some more generic ones like this. Okay, so I'm done for that one. So I'm just going to lift this up, push this down. Okay. Then we're going to get our snowman again. Here's our third hooping. Oops, push it up a little bit more. And then I'm going to line up my snowman. It's easier to get the snowman on first before you try to get it in the hoop. So try to get that on first. And then let's take a bunch of these pins out. Does anybody know? Maybe it's on the book, Marianne. Let me look. I got my book here. It might tell me. I can't remember exactly. Here's my book. What does it say? I don't have my box anymore, so it tells you. But this is all the stuff. So it comes with all these tiles too. Let's see here. Let me show you the pictures of the designs. So here's all the different designs. So there's winter, spring, swirls, fall, summer, loops, border swirls, border loops, and bitty blocks. So all of those, and then you get all the designs and all the different sizes. So there's a lot of designs. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the square, block parts, and then there's 2 border ones and the bitty blocks, and then you get all the different sizes. So there's a bunch of designs with it. I think somewhere it tells us somebody has the box. Maybe they could type on how many they are. I don't have my box anymore in the essential set. All right, so let's get this one on. So I'm going to take some more pins out. Again, I'm basted at the bottom here. So, and that's what's so nice, because now I can quilt these. don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but now I can quilt these things and I can turn my head for more than, you know, I mean, even if you just turned your head a second, sometimes you were, you got caught. So this works really well. Okay, so now I'm going to be a little more careful to get this lined up. Now I'm going to be off the bottom, okay, and this is going to be off the bottom, and that's okay. But I'm not going to sew the whole thing. I'll probably not sew the bottom part of it. And yes, you could use a shorter design here, and that would be fine. All right, let's see here. I'm going to have to come this way a little bit. And it's okay that it doesn't. And you notice too, I forgot to mention earlier, I try to leave maybe 3 inches around, all the way around, when I cut my batting and my backing, so I have something to hoop into. You know, we have to hoop in something, you know. So don't make your batting and backing too short. I usually leave at least 3 inches all the way around. So add like 6 inches to your length and width. Sometimes I even add more. It just depends on what size hoop you need to be using. When I use snap hoops, I can get by without like hooping the whole thing. If I'm hooping in a, what'd you say, 372 designs? Cool. 372, Marianne. All right. So I'm not going to sew down here because I'll sew off my fabric. So we'll just watch that when we get down there, and we'll just, that's why I wanted to do the bottom one. So I'm going to go ahead and just center it again. And then I'm going to hit my snowman. I think I'm fairly centered, so it should be okay. Oops, had to hit scan. Looks pretty good. And then I'll do another row. You know, you just keep going until you get done. And it, like I said, when you do 9, you're going to do 9 hoopings with this hoop, with this tile, and it really doesn't take, okay, can't recognize them. Just a second, I must have made it mad because I put my hand in there sometimes. So let's see. Let's try it again. Make sure it's close enough. I think it's pretty close. We'll do it one more time. I have a little bit of trouble with light here. Yes, I am too. The Perfectly Pieced. Connie, is that you? Yeah, Connie Hobbs said that Perfectly Pieced. If you're getting those, you also get a quilting collection every month also, and then you'll have even more. I have a lot of them. I mean, I own most of the Clear Blue Tile ones already, and then I am also in Perfectly Pieced. So you know, it's nice to have all of those, and you can build up your collection. So it's recognizing now, so I think we got it. I just love the snowman though. I've always used my snowman a lot. Remove the embroidering. Yay, the embroidery positioning mark. All right. So let's do that. Now this one we're going to have to kind of watch because we don't want to go off our end. And I don't think we will, but it's going to be kind of close. So we're going to watch it. And I can kind of watch it on the screen as it's going to know where it's going to end. So we just don't want to go off the end. If it does a little bit, it's okay. And then we can kind of fast forward through that. And that's how I deal with the fact that it goes off the end. Yeah, I like this design. This is going to look really nice on here. Kind of more open than the other one. So the other one I did had a lot of detail in it. This one's a little bit more open. So that'll be nice. I wanted them to be different. Okay, so does this make sense to everybody? Does everybody kind of see how these work? I mean, if you don't have the centering device, you can still use, you know, just line it up, and I just use my needle and drop it into the center to make sure I'm lined up. So That is true. There are not 372 different designs. There are those ones that I showed you, and there's the multiple designs of that design. So there's not 372 different designs. But there are a lot of design. There's all those different ones that I showed you, and then all the different sizes that go with them. And then there's also, which is cool, this is one of the, I got to watch this a little bit too, don't want to get distracted. But this is the table toppers, and these are all pieced in the hoop too. So these are in there. These table toppers are in there too, so that's really cool. Let's see if I can find, where's the pictures again. Here we go. So we had winter, spring, swirls, fall, summer, and loops. So there's a whole bunch of different ones that, you know, there's those 6, plus there's 2 borders, okay, 2 borders, and then the bitty blocks. And then there's all the multiple designs of sizes of those. You know, those table toppers, I probably should do them sometime. Would you guys like to do those? You do have to have the clear blue tiles to get those designs. Aren't they neat? I think there's maybe, here's pictures of them. You see the whole picture? I have to make sure I'm not going off the end. But here's the ones. There's a spring, summer, winter, and fall one. And you piece the little houses and the little trees in the hoop. So I thought they were cool. Yeah, those are fun. I think it'd be fun to do those. Whoop, stop. Now see, I went off the end. That's okay. I'm gonna cut the thread. Okay, that's okay if that happens. That's okay. We can go back up. So I'm just gonna fast forward. I'm gonna hit the plus minus sign here. Okay, the plus minus sign, and I'm just gonna go ahead maybe 10 stitches and get back up on the batting a little ways. I'm just gonna keep hitting 10 because it's gonna go back down a little bit. I'm watching the little green arrow down here. Okay, so now it's back up there again. Okay, and it's down on the batting, so we're okay. I think I'm just going to go ahead. Let's see. I just fast forward through some of this. That's what I do at the bottoms. I just don't want it to go off the ends because there's a couple little kind of hanging loops down here. So there we go. Okay, I think we're okay now. So let's watch it for a little bit. We'll watch it. If it gets close to the bottom, we'll stop it again. It's going to start down here in the batting. So that works pretty well. That's the way I've always done all of these, is that, you know, things get down here towards the bottom. And then I can see where I'm at. We're going to go up the side now. And then I'll have to watch another loop down this way. So somebody just asked, I just started watching, so I'm sorry if are Quiver Tails worth it for use? Yes, I think they are. This is the Luminaire, and I have been very pleased with them. At first, I was kind of resistant. I didn't buy them right away. And then I started looking for the designs, and I thought, you know what, this is really cool. And I use them. I'm using them a lot. So we're going to use them for this class. We're going to use them for all the cuties next year. That's how we're going to quilt these, is with the Clear Blue Tiles. And I've actually become very fond of them. And I just don't mark as much as they tell me to, because I don't want all those marks in my quilt. But other than that, I really like them. And I love the designs, because all the quilting designs are just so cute. And what I like best about them is that I don't have to try to match the end points and start points, because it seems like I was always just a little bit off. So yes, I've been very pleased with them. Took me a while to buy them. I didn't buy them right away, because I have all the Amelie Scott stuff, and I still love those too, so I do use them. All right, so we're up here. Now it's going to go back down this way, so we'll have to watch it down here at the bottom a little bit. And we might have been able to get by with a 10 or 12 inch design, just because, so see, I'm kind of down here on the batting. I think it might still be okay though. Let's just let it sew right there. I think it'll be all right. But when it comes, it's going to come up here and then come back up, and we need to make sure it doesn't go off the end. But I might have been able to get by with maybe a 12-inch on the end one, maybe 10, but I'm not sure. Yes, I did get the clear blue tiles with the box, but I just threw the box away because I had a bag to put them in, so I have them like in a bag instead. So I'm going to go forward a little bit because it's about ready to go down and do this little loop down here. So I'm just going to go forward with my machine and get back up on the batting because I think it might still have to go back up again. Let's see. It's on the batting. I'm just watching it on the screen. Because I think it might go back this way. And then there's a little loop that's going to go hit up there. So I just need to get it back up a little higher. Okay. There, I think that'll be okay. Now we'll let it go. I think it'll just finish up because I think it actually will go back up on the fabric just a little bit. Yes, the box is, I just threw it away because I had this nice little bag to put them in and I didn't want to have all that extra stuff. So there we go. I think it's going to be ended now. Yep, that's the end of it. With the perfectly pieced box, I don't know if you do or not. I don't get the box, the perfectly pieced box. I don't get the box. I just get the digital downloads. So I don't get the actual box. But you might get, I've had a couple of clear blue tiles. You could cut down on I've gotten a few clear blue tiles with some of the other stuff I've bought, like with the Bella box and stuff. I have some extra tiles. So yeah, you actually end up with a few tiles. So yeah, that's cool. You get you might very well get one with the if you're actually getting the physical box, you might actually get it. Okay, so here's the third one. We did the third one. So what I do is I just lift this up. Then I'm going to flip back up here to the top, just like we started. Okay. And there's my spot right there, and get my snowman. And I'm going to line up my snowman here. Whoops, I can't see it. That orange fabric's a little hard to see on it. There we go. Right, there's my snowman. I'm a little crooked, so we'll get him all lined up. Okay. There's my snowman. Take out a couple more pins. And then we'll line this one up. And then you just keep going until you're done. I have 6 more hoopings to do. Okay. So I might not get them all done tonight. I'm just going to, I got some laundry and stuff to finish, so I probably won't be able to get everything done tonight. And then I would just line it up again with my snowman feature. And I think that's pretty good. Make sure I get it all in there. And then it's pretty good. Get him lined up. I'm going to center this again. See if he centers up for me. Okay. And it's going to go scan again. And I just love the zigzagging on the edge. Oh, cool. So the clear blue, that's cool. That they put it. So I just get the digital download, so I don't get the physical box. It does. I think it would cut down on needing the a long armor too, Carol, because and I have a long arm, and my long arm lives in Coralville, and I live in Anamosa right now, so I can't really use it. So this is the way I have to quilt, and I find it very, very easy to do, and I think everything turns out. I don't like to do like super huge quilts like this, just because it's very hard to, so to get the quilt in, and you have to hoop it so many times. So I normally just quilt smaller things this way, but so many of my things are fairly small. So yes, so the blue ones, that's right. but each, okay, the Kimberbell designs, if you buy them there, you want the ones that are blue because those have the clear blue tile files in them. And if they're orange, they just have the block by blocks. That's correct. Okay, so now I'm all lined up, ready to do the next one. And I'll just let it go. Okay. Now the one thing I wanted to show you real quick, I don't know if you can see it. Let me stop it for a second. I'm going to see if you can see the stitching here. See the stitching here? Okay, that's the same stitching that was on this one that I changed the size. So can you see the length, the difference in the length of the stitches? Okay, so these stitches are much longer. And that's what happened when I tried to size it because they were scaled to be the same size. So that's what happened. So these stitches are much, much better than these. And I didn't want to take these out because I wanted people to be able to see what not to do. Don't resize them. Okay. All right. So we'll let this go. All right. So what other questions do you have? Does everybody kind of understand how to do the quilting on this? It's pretty easy. And next week, we're going to start working on the embroidery. Okay. So next week, we'll probably do the wreath. I think it's the wreath next week. We'll do that. That's going to be the one that's in this square right here. And then the following week, we'll do the multi-hoop one. All right. So I'm going to let this keep going since it was about done. I don't have to worry over here because I've got it all stitched down, so I don't have to worry about it going off the edge, which is really great. It's going to go off about an inch or so off the edge. All right, so let me get this up and we'll say good night. I hope this really helped you. I love quilting stuff like this. I never thought that I would ever learn to quilt. And I've learned so much about quilting over the years, and my embroidery machine has taught me so much. So can you tell me how much the 9x14 hoop costs? Which 9x14 hoop? The magnetic one? Yes, Dad is in the hospital. The magnetic one, is that the one you're asking about? How much that is? I noticed that Dime has all of their magnetic hoops on sale. So go to the website, the Dime website, and I think they're all on sale for the month of October. I would love to sell you one, but they're on sale on their website. Okay? But isn't it cool? I think it's cool how it works. Somebody asked me if I could show the cuties again. So here's February. And so the way we're doing this is we will, piece them, then we'll quilt them, and then we'll do the embroidery. So the embroidery's through them, but they look cute. I think they look cute that way. So there's February. This one's March. Here's the March one. I just finished this one today. I have to put the bows on it. There's little bows on the kites. Haven't got that done yet. And then April's. This is April's is with the one with the little umbrellas. So got this one on. I've been quilted this with the clear blue tiles. And then here's January. Now January's may change slightly from this because I actually redid the design. So we're going to do January in December next year. So this one will be the last one we do because I'm going to start with February and January. So you always have a month ahead, and we'll do this one. Yeah. Somebody said something about will you do the video? Yes, I'm going to do these. This will be next year, starting in January. We'll do the cuties, and we'll do them each month. So there's 12 different ones, and we're going to do the old ones. And then they have some new ones that are all done differently. So we won't do the new ones. We won't do the new ones this year. We're going to do the old ones first. $240 with tax. Okay, and how much was it then, Colleen? $240 with tax. Thanks to the class. Oh, okay. So anyway, I knew that Dime has, and that seems like a lot with the tax, but maybe not. Which one did you order? The 9.5 by 14?
I haven't looked on our website. I can't remember how much they are. They run from $209 to about $239. So that's the price that we charge for them on our website. So, okay. All right. So anyway, that's the next week we'll start working on the embroidery. I'm going to continue quilting here as long as I've got all the stuff out. And I will see you next week, and we'll do some embroidery on this $229. So that's actually about the same price, I think, Colleen. That's on our website. So you might want to go look on our website. Maybe they weren't on sale. I thought they were. So okay. So everybody have a good evening, and I will see you next week, and we'll do some more embroidery. So thanks, everybody. Good night.